Knight to rook 4. Castle. Bishop takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. The reversed Sicilian defense. See, I'm rattling off chess terms like I know what they mean. The Queen's Gambit is a new Netflix original limited series that follows a young chess prodigy. But do you have to be familiar with the game in order to get into this show? A young woman is quiet, awkward, and fairly unremarkable until she discovers she has an astonishing talent for the game of chess. She's haunted by personal demons, and she's fueled by a mixture of narcotics and obsession. And she's also determined to break into this pretty much male-dominated world of competitive chess. Anya Taylor-Joy stars as Beth Harmon in this limited series that comes out October 23rd. The series is written and directed by Scott Frank, who also did another limited Netflix original series called Godless. If you've never seen that one, that's worth checking out too. Now, we're introduced to Beth in a quick and disheveled manner, and then the story takes a big step back, and we see her as a very young child. And it's through this that we really get to know just her origin. She is an orphan. She's growing up in a state-run facility where they hand out as mandatory things vitamins and tranquilizers, which she begins to have a dependency on. At the orphanage, I mean, she's pretty well taken care of. She's looked after, but she doesn't have really any friends, except for one. She makes a friend with this sassy, smart-mouthed, and awesome character, Jolene. She also discovers one day that the janitor is in the basement playing chess by himself, and she's kind of intrigued by it, so she just watches him, and he dismisses her, he shoos her away, and then one day she asks a question, and she is able to recall all of his different moves, which of course then piques his interest, so he sits her down and teaches her the game. Bill Camp plays the janitor, and he is the perfect choice for this character because he's gruff, but he also is able to have this care and compassion that sits right below the surface, even though for most people they don't see it because of that gruff exterior, but it exudes from him. I mean, he can't really hide it, especially for us as the audience. Now, the first episode is mainly the young Beth Harmon, and then we transition into Anya Taylor-Joy playing the older Beth Harmon through the rest of the series. We still get some flashbacks to help fill in some of the little gaps here and there in her personality, in her story, to help shape it along the way. But for the most part, I mean, we get to see Anya Taylor-Joy as a young teenager and then into early 20s. She's got this air of confidence to her that I really like because it sits on that edge of arrogance because she knows she's good. I mean, she's excellent at chess. And I love also the visuals in this because they show us what she sees in her head as she plays through all of the different combinations. And I just love how they did that visually. We get to see up on a ceiling a chessboard hanging upside down and all of the pieces moving, and they go faster and faster as her brain works faster and faster through all of the problems and all of the combinations until she arrives to the solution that she's looking for. I also like that the character is not perfect. I mean, she's far from perfect in a whole bunch of different ways, but as she's obsessed with winning, as she is obsessed with getting better, we get to see some of that disappointment, that frustration, just that anger and everything come through when things don't go exactly how she had planned. And Taylor-Joy does that really, really well. I mean, she is convincing in this, not only as the prodigy, as this chess genius, who's also a little detached. I mean, she's emotionally kind of stunted and she's awkward around people, but you can tell that there's also this connection that she's trying to make. And she looks at it, she tries to mimic it a little bit. Sometimes it's genuine, and sometimes it does feel like she's just parroting what she has seen from other people. In addition to the cool visuals of seeing all the combinations play out, I like how they do some of just the split screens, or they show multiple things going on at once. And at one point, they have multiple screens on our one screen. And as it transitions and it morphs through and it splits into all of these different screens, as I'm describing it, this sounds weird. It sounds like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. I'm not sure that works. But seeing it visually, it matches the set and the style and the whole tone of the era that they're in. This is the late 60s that a lot of this is happening. And so it does. I mean, it fits perfectly with some of that kind of TV or filmmaking that we would see from that era. And once or twice they do some long continuous takes also. And I love how it puts us into the characters. And I love how we start out seeing a character, just we're walking in front of them maybe, and then the camera pans around. And so now we're following and we get to see, just take in all of the surroundings. And then as they encounter different people, the camera moving back and forth in one fluid motion. And it really immerses us into that scene. Now, from a story perspective, I wasn't sure that I was going to be drawn to this. I mean, I know how to play chess, but I'm terrible at it, so I don't play it. So why in the world would I want to watch a show that is about chess? Even though it has Anya Taylor-Joy, who I like as an actress. And really though, this is more of a character narrative than anything. Now don't get me wrong, there is still a lot of chess that goes on in here. I mean, we see chess matches, we see them practicing, we see all the different moves, we see them talking about chess a lot. And so it seems like a lot. It seems like, oh, I don't live in this world. I don't want to be here. But it is so engaging. And the character of Taylor-Joy and then all of the people surrounding her, that's what sucks you in. I mean, it sucked me and it drew me in so much that I couldn't stop watching. And they managed to make the chess games highly thrilling. I mean, I was tense. I was anticipatory on what was going to happen and a little anxious. I like in this also, though, that we are watching the character battle her own demons and her own past. And she's also battling various forms of addiction throughout her entire life, at least that we see on screen. Sometimes it's chemical, sometimes it's the thrill of something, sometimes it's just the obsession of chasing after a person or having their approval or having a connection with them. And Taylor-Joy is really convincing in her character, and she does a great job, especially through all of the addictions and all of the various forms that those take. And one of the things that I love that's not always easy to portray is how do you live inside your own mind? I mean, she is in her mind a lot and analyzing and reanalyzing, replaying things, looking at them from all different angles, especially when something didn't go as planned. But then even when she does win, she is still going over all of the things that she could have done better. And so I think, I mean, that's the mark of true genius, and how you do get better is you continually look at how to improve and figure out ways to do that. And she does it really well, but it also, it's got to be exhausting. I love in this that we get to see a lot of character growth. It's not always positive growth, but we are seeing her grow. And I love the friendships that come into play and all of the different relationships and just what the other cast of characters bring to this. That sometimes, I mean, she rubs people the wrong way and she pushes them away, and yet somehow some of them still come back. And I just love seeing that level of friendship and that level of support, especially when they're rebuffed. Now, the story is told in pretty much chronological order, so it's very easy to follow, but it's not always sunshine and rainbows. I mean, it definitely has some depressing moments, some sad moments, but it also has some happy and funny moments, as well as just some even romantic and thrilling, like I said, and anxiety-filled. So there's 7 episodes in this limited series, and they each are varying length, which means that they only take up the amount of time that they needed to tell that portion of the story. And I really appreciate that, because there's not a lot of filler then that goes into it. They're not trying to fill an hour's worth of time in each episode. If this episode takes 40 minutes, well, they use 40 minutes and then we move on. So this is a wonderful show. And while I wasn't always thrilled with the character of Beth, I was always drawn to her and into her story. Her journey is magnificent to watch, and you don't have to be into chess to enjoy this. I mean, I think maybe if you do enjoy chess, maybe it actually might be an annoyance to you, because you might see some mistakes that they make, or maybe you know about some of the history, and I don't know even if half of these things are real or not. I mean, I know that the character of Beth Harmon is completely fictionalized, but even still, if you are a chess fan or you're not a chess fan, and probably more important if you're not a chess fan, that this is a great watch. It's really engaging, it's really intriguing, and I found myself wanting to hit play or next episode faster and faster, because I just wanted to see what was going to happen next. There is sex, brief nudity, a lot of profanity, not really any violence. I give the Queen's Gambit 4.5 out of 5 couches. What's your favorite board game? I have several that I really like, but one that stands out to me is called Tokaido. It's beautiful, it's peaceful, it's just a lot of fun to play. But I'd love to know what you like in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.